You're listening to Prosper in the Kingdom, the podcast where faith meets practical strategies to help you become healthy, wealthy, and wise. Join hosts John Cleaver and Wendy Lee as they share insights to equip you in your journey toward abundance, spiritually, financially, and beyond. Just a reminder, every situation is unique. The content of this podcast is for educational purposes only and should not be taken as specific financial or medical advice.
Welcome back, everybody, to another Prosper in the Kingdom. If you're trying to build your wealth and learn how to just better control your money, you have come to the right place. So I'm your host, John Cleaver, with the ever awesome Wendy Lee. Wendy, how are you doing today? You're out in Ocean City, Maryland, right?
New Jersey.
New Jersey. Okay. Enjoying the beach.
Yep. So it's been, lots of sun and lots of beaching and boardwalk and food that's not great for me.
Hey, you know what? Calories don't count on vacation. So I don't know if you knew that or not, but YOLO, baby. So enjoy it. Enjoy it. So today, folks, we're talking about specifically talking to small business owners, or if you're thinking about starting a small business, looking at kind of the whole aspect of it. And a lot of people think that just because they're good at something, I'm going to go start a business and do that something and make money at it and get to keep a bigger slice of the cut, which is 100% correct. And, I think that I think everybody should own a business, even if it's a part-time business, not just for the side income or the additional income, but for the tax benefits. But there's a lot that goes into it kind of behind the scenes. But we're going to talk about today, do you need a legal team for your business, right? And what does that mean? What does that cost? A lot of people think, oh my gosh, attorneys, and they associate that with dollar bill signs, right? Not incoming, but outgoing. So, but it doesn't have to be that way. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that today. But, before we jump in, Wendy, kind of what are your thoughts on, you've been a business owner, multiple businesses, as have I. What do you think? What do you think about that? Do you need a legal team?
Yeah, I think that me not having had a legal team in the past has cost me money. You think about the different things that you would, let's say you had an attorney that didn't charge you anything. You could just call up anytime you want. There are contracts that I've had to write. There's contracts I've had to read and sign. There's different times, honestly, I probably could have used legal advice on trademarking and, copywriting stuff. There's, different, honestly, tax questions that if I had an attorney to call and ask, I could ask. So there's definitely times, especially when it comes to the contracts, reading and writing contracts, that has been a big thing that I've probably, could have benefited from a legal team.
Okay. Yeah, and I would agree. I think, and that's one of the big three. There's three big things when you're starting a business. And I guess four, if you're actually talking about starting the business, because there's some legal documents, are you going to do an LLC? You're going to be a solopreneur, and just kind of put your name out there and things, which, if you're starting something small and it's a little side gig and you just did a little here or there with people, or something like that, probably not a big deal. But as you start kind of expanding and growing, you really need to look at, do I need to protect myself legally? And that's where that LLC document comes up. And that's a legal document, right? And then, as you evolve, and a lot of people get confused about an LLC, a limited liability corporation. That does not give you really any tax benefits. What it does is protect you. If something happens and you're at a job site or something like that, and you damage something, or somebody gets hurt or something like that, they can sue your company, but they can't sue you personally as long as you follow the rules. Again, talk to an attorney. We're not giving legal advice. But, really looking at, man, how do I set all that up? I don't know where to begin, and a lot of solopreneurs, what they'll do is try to bootstrap it, which I do a lot of bootstrap stuff, and they'll go out and try to grab a document off the internet and copy it and change it. And, number one, is it even legal? Two, is it even for your state? Because state laws really apply here, and every state is different. So that's where it's kind of key that, you need to have that. So, that's a big document, right?
Mhm.
But going into the next piece, what you were talking about are contracts.
Yeah.
If you've got employees or 1099s or client contracts, I had a conversation with a friend of mine a few years back, and he was doing home improvement, started his own business, and he had a client that all of a sudden didn't want to pay, right? And it was a big amount. I'm talking close to triple digits. And so, or six figures. And he's like, yeah, this guy just won't pay. And I'm like, well, slap a mechanic's lien on his house. He's like, what are you talking about? What's that? And this is a smart guy. It's not that he just, was clueless, but that's one of the things about when you
Yeah.
open a business and run a business. And so, I introduced him to the legal network we talked to, and they got that all set up, and, he got paid. And it was so much easier and a lot less stress on him and his family when he knew that the money was coming. So definitely looking at those contracts, those documents, having that legal eye on it and things like that.
And even with the contracts and documents, one thing that is now standard for anyone that has a website is you've got to have your privacy policy and your terms and
Mhm.
conditions. And most people, what do? They go to ChatGPT and they're like,
Yep.
give me this, and they slap it on their website. And listen, most of the time people aren't going to get in trouble for that, or there's going to be no issue. But to be able to have that peace of mind to say, okay, I chat GPT'd it and I sent it to the legal team and they reviewed it and they said good to go or change this or that,
Yep.
just to protect you in the future, because you never know and stuff like that's going to creep up.
Well, and on the topic of websites, the American Disabilities Act, a lot of them are looking at websites to see if your website is translatable to those with vision impairments.
Mhm.
Are they able to? And there's certain things, and again, I'm not a guru or expert in that, but I know it's come up several conversations that I've had on, are we compliant, to make sure that you're not putting yourself out there for a lawsuit on it's something that you didn't even intend to do, right? But these are all the things you need. And that, again, it's just so critical to, it's one of those things, a legal team, especially in that aspect, to have it and not need it. Right.
Yeah.
So the second thing, as you start bringing in employees and having employees and things like that, there's all kinds of employee issues that come up. And I'm not talking HR issues where, well, he said something that offended me. It's more of, hey, this employee has done something or done something to someone's house or something like that, and now you're getting sued by your client, or your employee is suing you for lack of overtime pay or whatever the case may be. And it's like, okay, now you've got to scramble to find an attorney, and that's cost. And it's just, and let's face it, folks, we live in a litigious society. And, when you're hiring employees, especially if you've got a business in an industry where there's a high turnover rate, something to consider,
Yeah.
to consider.
Absolutely. And then, the other thing is, you kind of mentioned this, but those client disputes and collections, right? How many people I know, I used to do coaching, and, there's a lot of people out there doing coaching that don't even have contracts. No, their clients don't even sign anything that says, hey, and that's how I was in the beginning. I just sent people an invoice, and that doesn't
Hope
fly.
they pay. Yeah.
Right, right. Like, if you don't have a contract, you can invoice all you want, right? Like, but how do you determine that trade of services? So if you've ever had a client not pay you or even dispute the work after a job's done, I'm going to tell you, I had a friend who built websites. She charged 10 grand for the websites. I introduced her to someone else that was a client of mine, so I have no dog in the fight. I don't know who, what, but the point is, this one built a website for the other. There was no real contract in place. It was invoiced through PayPal. And the client decided, this isn't what I asked for. I don't like it. And they disputed the charge, and PayPal gave them their money back. And so this woman who spent hours building a website lost all her money from that. And that, you guys, this stuff happens all the time. And if you had a legal team to help you, they can handle that for you instead of you trying to deal with PayPal and their disputes.
Well, and that's the thing, right? I mean, again, most entrepreneurs or solopreneurs or small businesses, they're good at something and they have good intentions. They want to help something. They're bringing a service, and most cases it's going to be fine. But let's face it, there are things that come up, and the more you grow, you're starting to deal with people who have no idea who you are. You have no idea who they are, what their integrity level is, or anything like that. Or without that contract, it may be, well, I thought you were going to provide X services and you did Y services, which is not what I expected because of, lack of clarity or things like that. And that's again where you need to have some kind of avenue to collect on your fees or negotiate or things like that. And let's be honest, collections, when you get a call from somebody and say, hey, Wendy, I did some stuff for you. Are you going to pay me? Right? Yeah. I'll get around to you or whatever. If you get a letter from an attorney stating, hey, you've got 15 days, 30 days or whatever, this is a notice of collection. If not, we're going to pursue legal means, and it's on an attorney letterhead, it's a whole nother level of seriousness. I mean, and it's one of those like, oh, hey, what's going on? Can we work something out? And, I've partnered with other companies and things like that where, we've acted as kind of a marketer, if you will, and they've had to go after clients. And, it's, hey, that's why you have the documents in place. We're going to provide services by X date. We expect to be paid within 30 days of completion. Here's the agreement. Everybody signs it. Everybody's clear on what's going to happen and what the expectations are. And so now you have that paper trail, that legal paper trail, that if you do have to go to court, whether it be small claims or whatever, you've got the documentation in place, and you also have the legal support from an attorney actually showing up. Because a lot of people don't realize, if you have a small business and you go to court because you're a business, you cannot necessarily, and this is different from every state, so don't quote me on this, but you can't always represent yourself. You've got to have an attorney in place. And so, the question is, oh man, what's that going to cost? And that's one of the things that, you look at is how do you solve for that? And one solution I found, we talked about it before in the past. They do both family legal protection, as far as, helping people with their estate planning and things like that. But just as critical, and I think even more critical, is the small business world. Because, hey, it's nothing personal. It's just business. I'm not paying you, and, you look at that, it's like, well, especially with small businesses, these aren't massive corporations. This is somebody trying to put his kids through school, right? Or somebody, a husband and wife trying to pay off their, their house or stuff like that, or, a lady trying to pay her bills and things like that. So, I mean, it's even, I think, more critical. And you've got a scenario where you can actually have a legal team with local attorneys. They may not be in your city, especially if you're in a small town, but they're in your state. They know your state laws, not somebody in California trying to figure it out using AI or something like that. So these are people that, you've got a complete network of attorneys that are literally there for you. I mean, reach out, you got a question. Hey, I was thinking about doing this. What do you recommend? Oh, hey, I need some legal documents, things like that. And, one of the things it jumps to mind, I had a employee contractor, a 1099, independent contractor agreement that I needed to create. And I started working with, the framework, but I wanted to, kind of, here's the document in its draft form. I need an attorney to go in. Number one, make sure it's compliant and legal within the state I reside, right? With the businesses in. Number two, that I'm not overstepping or overreaching on anything on the expectations from, the climate. And then number three, protecting my company against malicious behavior or things like that with clients or whatever. I mean, again, everybody goes into this with, best hopes and great intentions, but you never know.
Right.
And, I talked to an attorney friend of mine, and I want to use the term friend in air quotes, because, I mean, he is a friend, but we're not like, buddy. And I said, hey, man, I've got this document, kind of explain the situation. And he said, oh, yeah, I can definitely do that. Send it over and I'll take a look at it. So, well, before I do that, what's kind of the anticipated cost on that? And, I kind of said, I'm looking for that friends and family discount, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And he said, yeah, no problem. He goes, I'll take care of you. It's probably going to be about $1,000. My jaw about hit the floor. I'm like, $1,000 for a document that I'd already pretty much done. I just needed him to dot the I's and cross the T's for me.
Yeah.
And, it was a 3-page document. It wasn't like it was some, autobiography or something like that. It was literally a simple 3-page document. And I said, oh, wow. Okay. Well, I wasn't quite expecting that. I was expecting maybe, $300-400.
Yeah.
And I said, is that pretty standard? He's like, oh yeah, that's a going rate. So flash back to the legal group that I had mentioned. I had been working with them since I think 2002 on the
Mhm.
personal side. They helped me with my will and my estate planning and stuff like that. And I use them for that, as well as, some parking. I got a parking ticket that I wasn't liable for, that I actually paid, but they double charged me and threatened to take me to court. And I didn't stress about it or anything like that. I simply sent it over to my attorney. They took care of it.
Yeah.
So I reached out to them on the business side, say, hey, I'm a small business owner. I've got an LLC. And I had paid a traditional attorney to help me with those documents and things like that. And it was fairly costly, and shame on me for not reaching out. But I called and said, hey, here's what I've got. And they said, oh, yeah, we can definitely do that for you, but you're going to have to upgrade your membership. And I'm like, okay, here it is. What's the cost for the business membership? And keep in mind, I was paying $30 a month. I think it's like
Yeah.
$29.95 or something, like $30
Yep.
a month for the family side. So I'm expecting this big jump, a couple $100. And they said $45. I'm like, so it's an additional $45. And they, no, your $30 membership is going to go up to $45. I'm
Okay.
like, done.
Yeah.
Done. And so now what was cool is now, instead of, me having a personal thing that I have to pay with my income, my after-tax dollars, I now shift it over to the company, because the company is leveraging this. I still can use, the personal side, but it's a company expense now, using company dollars as opposed to my own personal income.
Mhm. Yeah.
And so I'm like, that is a no-brainer. So
Yeah. And it's just, I mean, peace of mind, right? And to have one flat monthly fee that's pretty minimal, to know that you have access. Because here's the thing, right? Is you don't it's like you don't know you're going to need one until you need one, and then when you
yeah,
do, that's like a lot of stress and can be a massive expense. And
yeah,
so, and all the things we skip and we ignore because we don't have access to legal help, right? That
yep.
we could just leverage.
Oh, it'll be okay. Yeah, it'll be okay. It'll be fine. And
Yeah.
then you're right. And then all of a sudden, the X factor hits you and punches you in the gut, and you're like, scramble time. And then you're trying to get to the front of the line. You're trying to reach out to somebody in the phone book, or talking to, do you know any attorneys? And it's like, you've got to establish this whole relationship and everything else. And they handle everything. And what they don't handle, they've got their own internal network of people they can outsource you to. And you get a 25% discount.
Mhm.
I mean, so you're still saving money, even if they have to refer you outside of their attorney network. And again, these are local attorneys in your state that, it's not somebody overseas or somebody in another state or anything like that. And I'm just blown away. And like I said, I've been a member since 2002, and I love it. I
Yeah.
love it.
Yeah,
So
some of my
go ahead.
clients that, are use this service, one, wanted to do trademark and copywriting.
Hmm.
And so there was a package that included like up to 1 or 2 a year that, was included. And so, I mean, that would have been thousands of dollars outside,
Yes.
right? And, there's just, I had one client that came on because she does contracts and is writing contracts and needs to make sure that that's all up to par.
Yep.
There's so many different little things they, to your point earlier with setting up an LLC, right? You get consultations with them included in
Hmm.
your membership that you can say, hey, I want to set up an LLC. Is it smart for me to do an S corp at this point or not? Right? Like you can ask those
Hmm.
questions, and it's just great, and it's going to help you get your business started off the right way. We talk about money, right? That when you launch a business, you should have a plan for the money that comes in the door, the revenue, figuring out, where your money's going. Well, you should
Hmm.
also have a plan for what you're going to do on the legal side of things and set things
Yeah.
up in the beginning the right way. And I love the scripture, Proverbs 15:22 says, without counsel, plans fail, but with many advisors, they succeed. And so we
Yep.
talk about your money team, and part of that money team is also your, legal team. And this makes it easy. So you don't have to become a lawyer. You don't have to learn all the things, right? But you can
Or
access them.
or get bad advice from the
Right.
internet, or some, Tom's smart. Let me ask him. What do you think, Tom? He's like, well, I'm not an attorney, but I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night. Let me give you legal advice. And so no knock against Holiday Inn. But it's one of those things that, yeah, it's kind of crazy, but we all do it. I know I did, and out of the gate, and I'm like, okay, wait, let me just use a resource I'm already plugged into. And it's been a fantastic engagement. And that's the thing. I mean, in $45 a month, it's something it's consistent. You can plan for it, budget for it with your business, and it's not outrageous on the cost. And you've got somebody on your team. And, like I said, I mean, when you start dealing with clients and customers, contracts, setting up the expectations on both sides. And then, if you have to go the collection route, you've got somebody to handle it for you. But that's the big takeaway, guys. It's not expensive if you go the membership route. And the cool thing I like is they're great people based out of Oklahoma. There's no like contract where you've got to stay in it for, 2 or 3 years or whatever. I mean, that's my security system on my house. They're trying to get out 3 years. I'm like, no, that's not happening. And so it's this whole negotiation thing. But again, take a look at it. If you like it, they do a bunch of stuff that can help you, protect your personal credit as far as, for identity theft. If you're a gun owner, I don't care if you were in the right, wrong, or indifferent. If you have to take action and it results in a fatality, you're getting sued. They're there to help you with that as well. And so there's a whole bunch of resources, but the big one for you business owners is why wing it? Why get a team around you, get some trusted assets and resources and have them do it for you. And that way, like you said, out of the gate, you're doing it the right way and you're protected. So that is all we've got for today's Prosper in the Kingdom. Hopefully you found some value in it. If you did, do us a favor, give us a little love, give us that like button, that heart button down below. And it helps us with the algorithm. And we'd love you to comment. I mean, especially on our YouTube channel, comment on your takeaways from this. And we'll put the link down below so you can go ahead and talk to them about, getting your plan in place. Look at the video and talk to them. If you like it, great. If not, no big deal. And but I know it's been a tremendous resource for myself and Wendy and our businesses, and it can be for you too. So everybody have a great day. We'll see you next Wednesday on another Prosper in the Kingdom. Don't try to figure this stuff out on yourself or by yourself. Let us help you along the way and help build wealth and stability and health for you and your family for generations. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to Prosper in the Kingdom. If this episode added value to your day, be sure to like and subscribe. And don't forget to share it with someone who could use the encouragement. For more resources, head to prosperinthekingdom.com. Let's continue building lives of purpose and abundance, one step at a time.